Hello, everyone. Today I want to share with you something I dug out of my old files. I was able to open some boxes today and look through, well, not today, the other day, and look through files. And this comes from around 1978. I have circa 1978 written on it. And what it is, it's something that I received in that time period concerning a computer on a starship that I was working with. Apparently, they were working with me. Let's put it that way. It was probably the ship that Noel and Ramul and my physician and whatever that I had in those days. I believe it probably was their ship, but I don't know for sure. And this is the actual mothership, and it's the Central Control Unit computer. Now, I don't know why they gave me this. Now, remember, this is 1979, folks. And for those of you who weren't even born then, the idea of a computer was something that the scientists had, way off in their science place, in their laboratories, and, maybe NASA. Well, of course, NASA had computers, and that's where computers were, at least in my world. The thought of a personal computer was just, not even in my head. And so I knew nothing about computers. I'd never been around them. I'd never worked for any computer companies. And they did have computer companies in those days, but they supplied huge businesses and NASA and places like that. And they were giant, roomfuls of a computer that now we have more power on our little cell phone. So that's how primitive all this was back then. And in my world, I never worked for any places like that. I'd never been exposed to anything like that. Why did they give this to me? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that prior to this, just prior to this, because I remember it well, I was in bed one night and I was suddenly awakened by that energy. That means something is present in my room when the field shifts and it connects to the field that I'm in. It's sort of a blend, a blend of the two realms. Sorry about that. I had to stop for a coughing spell. Anyway, so the two realms blend, and then I feel the energy, and I open my eyes. And that still happens today, but I had far more dramatic experiences then than I have now, for the most part, and more frequent. I mean, it was just like, Grand Central Station in those days. So anyway, I felt that, had that feeling. I opened my eyes, and there in the room, as Jack Parr would say, I kid you not, there was a computer. Now, I wasn't even sure that it was a computer at first, but then I got the message that it was. The reason I didn't recognize it is because it didn't look like 1979, huge roomfuls of old computers with big old circuits, switches and stuff, and those old-fashioned, like, Flash Gordon computers. It looks like what we have now, a large white tower. And it was really tall. It was like about, 4.5 feet tall. And it had LED lights on it. It looked like what we have now. Well, maybe a little even more than what we have now. But there it was. And it was like, what is this? And then I got what it was. And that really scared me. It scared me more than seeing the ultras in my bedroom, which scared me a lot. Even though later I said, oh, I'm so sorry I screamed at you. But, to wake up and to see things in your room that shouldn't be there, it was difficult for me. It was not difficult for my mother. She saw them too. Not as often as I did, but she did. But it was difficult for me. And we were together, my mother and I, we lived together. So anyway, for some reason, seeing this computer scared me more than seeing a live person. And So I just said, I remember saying, and I don't know if I said it out loud or in my mind, I remember saying, take it away, take it away, take it away. And it disappeared. It just poof, you know, sort of right in front of my eyes. It was gone. You could say this was a dream, but no, I've had too many of these experiences. It was not a dream. And so anyway, that began it. And then they said, well, okay, we're sorry we scared you, you know, but we want to give you this information. It's really important. Now, why? They gave it to me. I'm going to read this to you. And that was it. You know, as far as I know, that was it. So I have no idea why they wanted me to have this information. Obviously, something was going on the inner planes, that I was working with this in some way, and they needed it to be in my conscious mind. That's the only explanation that I have for it, that I've come up with. So here we go. It's called, this is the major components list for computer 96400. We start out, let's see, there's so many pages to this thing. Not that it's that long, but I have repetition pages, so I want to make sure. Okay, it starts out with the central control unit, which consists of a light panel, a central control panel, and a dark panel. The connected units, could we think about, like, you know, USB ports or something? But in those days, I didn't have any idea. The connected units are freeboard and service board. The units with central control units and connected units are monitor shelf and readout board. Now, I'm sure that they probably put these names in a way that I could, well, I didn't understand them. No, I wouldn't say that, but I don't think they sat around with each other and said, use these names. I would be very surprised. Obviously, it wouldn't be in this language anyway, but maybe so. Maybe translated into another language, this is what it would read. I don't know. But anyway, this is what they gave me. So we have components A and we have components B. To some extent, they're repeated on this other page, but it's confusing. So I'm just going to read it out first in the condensed version. Components A. There are numbers by each of these, but I'm not going to read the numbers. Stellar retractor, communication unit, verbal translator, sonic translator, microbiotic cell unit, protein reactor, energy modulator, map reflector, monitor shelf, reversal units, tonal calculator, readout board, frequency input-output stations, altimeter. Now, altimeter is a word I know. Ultraviolet projector, color shift synchronizer, decode coordinator. And then we have components B, which, now, wait a minute. Under components A, we have elements, and I'm not sure that they were on the components A, or their separate list, but I'm going to read the elements. Plasma base and salt sulfur compounds. Then on component B, we have biooperative trajectories, demolecular advancers, level regulators, pulsar digests, base electrodes, synthesizers, common sensors, node sensors, vibratory components, hypothetic deducers, subtransit deducers, simple relators, complex relators, transverse hypostimulators. Ooh, that sounds scary. Filters, longitude, latitude equalizer, sterile probe. That sounds even scarier. Polarized probe, program circuits, biomagnetic locks, release mode, temperate bar, parallel activator, sequence margin, reverse longulator. Okay, that's the main page. But then I was given to write this out by hand with these little squares like buttons, you know, and or windows. I don't know which it is to write. And these numbers that were given here, these numbers, almost all are binary code, ones and zeros. Now, I didn't know the term binary code. I didn't know computers operated with a binary code. I knew nothing about this, and yet I was given binary code. So here we go. Biomagnetic locks. And there's an actual number, 632010, by that, but then underneath it, you have these buttons or windows that have a binary code in each one of these. Then release mode, binary code. Ultraviolet projector, project A, project B. Maybe it means projector A and projector B, I'm not sure. Map reflector, all kinds of numbers and buttons and whatever. Here, most of them binary, but some are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like different countdown buttons. But most of it is binary code. Color shift synchronizer. Trying to keep this in order here. Reversal units. Copy 555, copy 432. But under each of these copies are a binary code listing. Decode coordinator. Pulsar digests. Level regulators. Stellar refractors. Energy modulator. Vibratory components. Base electrodes. Sorry for the page fluttering. I know it probably sounds really loud on your end. Synthesizers, demolecular advancers, common sensors, node sensors, sequence margin, transverse hypostimulators. Now, some of these you heard on the other panel, but some of them are not there, so that's why I'm reading the whole thing again. Hypothetic deducers, and then there's under that, there's a bunch of code. These have all the code and the whatever and the buttons, and then it says a button for deducer check. Then subtransit deducers, C1, C2, X, Y, and then some binary stuff. Programmer circuits, circuit 591, circuit 432, circuit 361, and then there's a circuit check. Then there are simple relators, and a bunch of numbers, of course. And then there is something that's called, a lot of these have a check button. And then there's a register, and then numbers under that, but it's register under the simple relators. Then there's the complex relators, and it has basically the same thing with the check button. Bioperative trajectories, and it has, interestingly, after the binary codes, it also has a 2 and a 3 button, and then it has 4 /0 0 margin, 8 /8 /0 2%, 6 /0 5%, 1 /0 total. What that is, I have no idea. Longitude, latitude equalizer, and then sterile probe. We have an eject and a charge, and then a graduator under the sterile probe. And then under the polarized probe, we have eject, charge, graduator, and there we have a polarized button. Temperate bar, parallel activator, reverse longulator, tonal calculator, and then there under the tonal calculator there is a charge, and a tonal transference. There's mute, 1 mute, 2 mute, and then under the number patterns for tonal calculator, this is still tonal calculator, board 44, board 66, board 55, board 77, and then a 0, 2, 1 check. Then we have the communication unit. Now this gets interesting. We have ship 1, ship 2, ship 3, ship 4, ship 5, and ship 6, and ship 7. And then we have all ships. And then we have mothership. And under that, we have cut 1, cut 4, cut 5, transband 1, transband 2, transband 3, frequency set, cut 6, cut 9, cut 6, cut 9, reset. And then there's a search lock, a pacer, a margin clip, and a freeze out. Okay. Then we have, I think we're still under the communications board, pretty sure. We have a verbal translator, COM1, COM2, COM3, frequency set, current indicator, tone reducer, change set, scramble 1, scramble 2, match up, reduce. And then there's an insert deducer lock-in and an insert tonal lock-in. Then there is a sonic translator. COM1, COM2, COM3. Limit, pre-count, coordinator, insert deducer, lock-in. Insert deducer, login, infer, and translate. Then we come to the monitor shelf, which, and the readout board, the altimeter, the protein retractor. All these have checks underneath them. Frequency input-output stations, microbiotic cell unit, check and recheck on that. Filters, plasma-based, and salt-sulfur compound, and then all components. We've got the check, correction valve, shut-off 1, shut-off 2, cross-check, auxiliary power, circuit 1, circuit 2. So, there you have it. And I don't really have much more to say about it, but I just wanted to share it. This is all yellowed old paper. It has not been digitalized, not yet anyway, and I felt it should be cataloged, and in doing so, I thought some of you might be interested in hearing it. Let me see if there's anything else before I conclude here. Okay, I found some more. Now this names the starship ALNA, A-L-A-N-A. I had seriously doubt they had big letters painted across it, ALNA. So I don't know, but that's the name that was given to me. So here we go. Multi-computer base ship is in orbit around the Earth as of September 1st, 1975. A 4-level, 8-girded complex, tropic operated, with all units inlaid. I can't explain that. Designed to monitor all Earth systems, approximately 1,000 persons, I would imagine, onboard technicians. Has a complete medical clinic, analysis laboratory, cosmologic laboratory treatment center, a geological department, mineralogy, autonomy, study of autonomy here is called study of force line structure and mass. That's what it's supposed to be. Chronological department, this is paragenetic time banks, data storage banks, translated record bank, and impression bank. Process department, identification and assistance for agents. Mini departments, small departments servicing various operations. Computers from all departments are fed through one unit, 1101. Ship operations, the department for maintaining, navigating, and piloting the starship. Starship ALNA was built by Venus-Saturn project and is the joint effort of the following planets: Venus, Saturn, Uranus, Mars, Jupiter, Camusari, Melina, Celos, Clarion, and Kalpha Orion, or Orion it says, but I think it means Orion. So obviously it's not just the planets within our solar system. It is sanctioned by the Space Confederation and has been given a seal by the Vicar of the Solar League of this planetary system. The Starship ALNA is the first spaceship of its kind to be used in orbit around this planet, of this kind. It's relating to that specific. But when it's talking about Venus and Saturn and Uranus and Mars, even then I knew that they were just a bunch of gas clouds and hard rocks and whatever. But understand that what was given to me by these beings is that they are fully thriving and active on other dimensions. We're just looking at them and walking on them, perhaps at times, and sending little probes to land on them in our particular zone of reference. They have other, so all the planets, I believe they said, all the planets in this solar system are quite thriving, but in other dimensional realms. Possibly the future, possibly the past, possibly, I don't know. It's just another dimension or dimensions. So anyway, that's that. Okay, now here's some just interesting stuff. ultratransit dimeter, or ultradim, computerized wristband. Of course, we have computerized wristbands now, and of course, Star Trek had them too, I guess. But you know, I was never a big Star Trek fan. I watched an episode here and there, but for some reason, it never really impressed me. It impresses me now from the standpoint of what was brought through for people in that long ago time that really registers a lot with current things. But for some reason, I looked at it and I went, oh, this is very primitive. And I think the reason I did that was because I was subconsciously already on these ships and doing things, whatever. And so little Star Treks didn't, impress me with paper cutout computer boards and things, I'm assuming that. But I had this feeling that this, while they were on target with some things, it was just very primitive. And so I just very rarely watched it. So anyway, back to the wristbands. Okay, it contains a telemetry system which measures body and geologic currents within a small radius, a receiving and transmitting unit for communication with starships and bases, and especially high-frequency ultrasound modulator used for minor treatment, protection, and demolecularization. I can barely say that. A unit that registers Earth times around the world. I guess it means time zones, but I'm not sure. Maybe it means, I don't know. I'm not going to try to guess that one. Deducing comparative ratios between elements and mass bodies, and the most advanced unit, the trans-time track. This is a newly added unit which is interlocked to the steric portal, the capsule for experimenting with Earth dimensions, located underwater off the coast of Big Sur, California. Now, I'm reading this for the first time since 1979, so it's like, it's interesting to me as well. The trans-time track activates the condition of time progression or recession for the individual wearing the wristband, and or those persons or objects within a near radius of the ultradim. Go over that. The trans-time track activates the condition of time progression or recession. This is some kind of time travel thing, I would think, for the individual wearing the wristband, and or those persons or objects within a near radius of the ultradim. The term DEMACH, D-E-M-A-C-H, is a measurement of interdimensional pull which activates time travel. It is a speed of awareness motion. We are aware that your Earth supersonic ships use the term Mach to indicate the speed of sound. So we have chosen the term DEMACH to give to you as the measurement of interdimensional travel, which is inclusive of time travel. So they made the word up, in other words, to relate to what we could sort of understand. If a sound vibration is induced to travel inward, retracting its own tone more rapidly than it had traveled outward in its original output, it would become non-existent on the Earth plane and travel interdimensionally, bending the time spectrum as it seeks static existence. For if a vibration pushes inwardly, tracing its exact track of progression in a backward motion, faster than it originally created that motion, it will erase itself or create a condition of non-existence, erasing itself from the present time track, period. It will then find it is exerting pressure against its own body of energy. The more pressure exerted, the more pressure to exert against, for it is all within the same body, and therefore the pressure exerted increases the pressure sustained. This occurs when the polarization from a body, current, etc., is removed, and thus cutting the energy circuit from positive pole to negative pole, which exists in high frequency within each separate body or current. If this is cut, as it is when a current bends back upon itself, which stops the transfer of energy from positive to negative, the current finds that it cannot balance its distribution of energies and therefore exerts pressure against itself in a vain attempt to balance and redistribute its energies through force. But since there is no division of poles within the current, it defeats itself in this effort, for, as stated previously, Without the transfer between poles, the pressure exerted increases the pressure sustained. As the current builds in pressure, it bends further and further at an increasingly rapid rate of motion backward into the dimensions of its structure. This warps it spatially, which inverts the image line of the current into a series of sequential depths, seeking proper alignment with the stable forces. It is a law of the universes that non-existence is not compatible with being, and since the cosmology of the universe is based in the divine law of source, which is the act of being, any point which exists must continue to exist, despite the changes of its condition. In order to sustain existence, a point of existence, such as a current, mass, or interstellar speck of any point in existence, must be flexible to the transmutation of its energies and structures into infinite stages of existence, in order that balance be maintained. And so, as the current bends inward, warping its spatial dimensions, it affects the time sequences that allow the very existence of space. If such a current is controlled through various processes, it can be channeled as a tunnel into the desired time sequence. Wow. Well, of course, that is extremely headache bending. I would wonder why it just didn't explode, and that would be the end of it. But apparently there's some part of all of this that allows it not to do that, not to implode or explode, but to invert into another dimension. But I'm certainly not going to try to figure that one out. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Okay, we've had some more computers here, but these are little ones, comparatively speaking. Visional, I think it means visual, graphics computer, matrix for biocular energies. No, I'm sorry, it's matrix. This is hand written by me, so it's a little hard to read. Matrix for binocular energies. You would think it would be biocular, but this is binocular energies. Unit IMRA 6400. Then we have light pyramid color count, and these little pyramids are drawn. The top ones are facing one direction, the bottom one's another, inverted. And there's a little line drawn between the two, up and down, and there's numbers. And then we have the binary numbers again for entry and phase out. So we have light pyramid color count, then entry and phase out. We have color mixer, color stabilizer, photo light bar, pyramid match, gray line, negative matrix binder, and vibratoner. Then we have computer colligation, colligaton, CALLIGATION, colligation, I guess, computer colligation. Color chargers, we have blue light, silver, pink, red, violet, ultraviolet bands. It's interesting because they don't have just the primary colors here. You would think they would have the primaries. Ultraviolet bands, and then there's 0 and plus under the ultraviolet bands. And then we have a cosmolic computer, 410. Recharger, stabilizer, micro developer, biostimulator, master charger, complace charger. Ooh, there's stuff on the back. Okay. Sorry, all the paper rattling. Astral keyboard. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have numbers on them. Well, that's cool. I'd like to get on that astral keyboard. Zone charger. No, zone charter. Charter, CHATER. And then there's a dash, and then there's a V, and then there's a dash 512. And we have a bunch of numbers, whatever. Etron standards. And balance and break on the Etron standards. And then revolve component, base, prodizer, module balancer, and prodice, retractor. So that's that. As I said, I'm just reading all this in here for posterity, and I thought you might be interested, or some of you might. So it's not exactly a treatise on this. I'm just going through it all. Because you know you're getting old when the papers that you wrote, that you're reading from, are crumbling in your hands. Okay. So we have, I don't know, a bunch of numbers. A lot of them are binary, not all. And then it says pattern 400, and then it says graphical structure A-654, and then it has map 72. And under that, there are dots and dashes, a bunch of dots and dashes, like Morse code or something. Then there's phase decipher, realign proton neutron, release margin, impress digital reversal, release component, geographical area, and then it says file card, like at a library. Okay, then we have more, a whole bunch of ones and zeros. And then we have regress action 6, out report 9, modular ingest 2. No, not modular, molecular ingest 2. And then count numbers, and we have a bunch of numbers. 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, but they're in steps. And then there's a file card again. Okay, now this one gets very interesting. Now, I want to stress that these beings that I was working with at the time, even though this would have been a crossover period because I was introduced to Thoth in my benefactor in 1977. Of course, he's an illuminary. I'm talking too fast, sorry. He is an illuminary. And these persons that operate these spaceships are ultra-terrestrials. But they knew him, or some of them did, because they told me that I would be connecting with him, my crew, the ones that worked with me. So they're not little bug-eyed beings that are grabbing people in the night and doing, putting anal probes up them or anything like that. These are really nice people. That's the way I would call them. They're nice people because I was a teenager when they started working with me. They were very sweet. They were kind. They were loving. They even smiled at times. They were human looking. They were human beings. They were a little tall, but we have tall people here too. They weren't giants. They were 6, 7, sometimes 7 feet, whatever. And the women were beautiful. I didn't see a lot of the women. For some reason, it was mostly the men that in my little crew, but I did see some. And so they were very personable, nice, and I truly trusted them. That said, here's a page on genetic breeding. But this has to do, and they stressed this to me in the past, maybe not this far back, I don't remember when, but it has been stressed repeatedly, that ultra beings work with our genetics, but they do so to help us. And they don't drag us out in the night. They do it without permission for human beings. The human beings have to give permission for anything they're working with in that regard. And I certainly did, although I gave them permission to do whatever they felt guided to do. And I didn't do that blindly. Yeah, I might have screamed at them in the night, but you awake and you see a 7-foot person in your room and you scream, especially if it's a man. But that was just an instinct thing. I trusted these persons. And this was over years of time, years and years and years. And I know that when I was born, they were with me, because at 4, I was going into the mountain and seeing the computers, the tall computer towers. So even though I didn't consciously communicate with them, other than that experience that I had at 4 or 5, I knew them. I knew them well, and I trusted them. So that said, they are working with animals and plants to upgrade the system, to help us so that we have the genetic juice, so to speak, to be able to move into the new Earth star phase. And it's all done with complete integrity and cooperation among everyone. And there's no harm done. There's nobody getting scared, not even the animals. So, this is how it goes. Anyway, they have numbers for dogs, cats, horses, blah, blah, here. And then it goes, all above animals are a result of sperm transference from the sperm bank of genetically reprocessed sperm. Preferable species, dogs, horses, dolphins, porpoise, ball whale species. Preferable sex is female to work within this particular. Preferable to have crossbreeds within same species. However, more difficult to succeed than with purebreds. Crossbreeds are more conducive to later genetic stimulation after release from the womb, but before full growth cycle is completed. This is due to the fact that differing genes give off opposite chemical within body, creating more continuous reflect-deflect synchronization, whatever that is. So that's all I have on that, and I don't know why. It's just something that passed my table, you might say, and I apparently included it. Obviously included it. Then we come, it says equipment for use with, I call them extraterrestrials until they corrected me to call them ultra-terrestrials to give a little finer point on who they actually were. But at this time I just wrote extraterrestrials. Quadraphonic system. Well, that sounds like, you know, a nice stereo system. Tie into the ultra computers, focus through tape deck. This is giving me how they were working with me with the equipment that I had, and the primitive equipment I had in those days. And I want to tell you, this stuff worked because I've picked up voices and sounds. I still have some tapes of the voices, and I also, you know, had situations where, like, they had me get this. They really liked Sony in those days. I don't think Sony is like that big a deal now because there's so many different. But at that time, Sony was like more advanced apparently for their purposes. So they had me get this Sony television, and for the time it was a big TV, big old heavy thing. You know how they were then. And a few nights after I got it, I woke in the middle of the night. I sat straight up in bed. I didn't even know why I was sitting up. I looked at the television. The television was turned off. Now, it wasn't unplugged, but it was turned off. It suddenly went on, and in those days you heard a special little sort of tinny sound when you used the remote or whatever, and you turned the TV on. The remote was nowhere near me. It went on, but it didn't go on like to a station or something, or even to static. The screen was still dark, but on the dark screen were green colored, like the Matrix movie, little lights of ones and zeros and different things. I don't remember all the symbols, but I'm pretty sure the binary code was involved with it. And this is long before the Matrix movie was ever made. You know, there it was on my screen, and I was just looking at it going, it's not turned on. It's not turned on. It's not turned on. Repeating in my head, you know. And then, boom, I was out. I just laid out, I don't even remember until I woke up in the morning. This is just an example, probably the most dramatic one, though, of how they worked with me with equipment. And actually, I think they still do. I don't have those dramatic experiences, but I have a feeling that they still do. They're not controlling me or anything. They're working with me. They're helping to heal me. They're giving me information that I'm using. All the work that I continue to do, it's not just, it's not just gazing into a mirror, which I don't do, but it has a technical basis to it in many respects. So they had me staring at I don't know what you call it, those Polaroid cameras they used to have, and you take a picture and it comes out, there's nothing but fluid on it, and it starts developing, and then you see the picture. Oh, they love those things for me. And they had me take pictures of things and myself, sometimes selfies. Had to have my mother take it. I couldn't hold that big old camera in front of me. And then as it was developing, I had to stare at it, and I had to do a soft stare. They showed me just how to do it. And then it would come in. And then, I don't know, basically, once that happened, I guess they took the energy off of it or something. I don't know. I just threw them away after that. It was okay to do that. So here they're talking about that. They're saying to use an optic placing, the layering of energy prints through photographic image can be unlayered by ultracomputer for Earth structure analysis. By having the photography is accomplished by the biosystem through its optic nerve impressions, clearer analysis can be defined. So I said, well, why don't you do this stuff? Why do I have to do it? Why am I standing here like an idiot staring at this picture? You know, I mean, what's the point? You know, I'm this little human being. You have all these computers. Why am I doing this? And they said about that and other things that I was doing, that I was an Earth human. I was here on the planet. I was incorporated into the energy system of the planet. This was valuable to them. I obviously wasn't the only person that they were working with in different ways, but this was valuable to them. If they stood and stared at it, they wouldn't get the same imprint, you see. So it was the same with a lot of the things they had me doing. So let's see, I think that's all. I have something here that's interesting. It's a bunch of circles in an inverted pyramid, and there are all kinds of numbers in here. CR4-44,000, CR10-44,000. You know what it reminds me of now that I look at it? I probably wouldn't have recognized it then. Oh, it says magna on one side and silver on the other. I think it's an elemental table. That's what I think it is. Some kind of advanced elemental table, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It must have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's 21 in magna. I think there's about the same in the silver. But inside it, each of those circles, there are 4 or 5 different number coding things. And these aren't ones and zeros. These are regular numbers with a lot of zeros on the end. So that's that. And let me just make sure there's nothing else before I sign off here. Okay, I think what I'm looking at now, these little primitive drawings that I've done, are, it says on this 8/17/73. So I believe that this folder contains what I've been sharing with you. Most of that is probably the later 70, when the computer thing, this is all computer stuff, but if this goes back further, PET base. So I don't know what that stands for, but I should have a drawing of a mountain, and I have, oh my God. I think this mountain is crest in the stone. It looks just like it. I mean, it's a primitive drawing, but let me look out the window. Hold on a second. Ordinarily, I could look right up and see it because it's right here, but I have the blind closed a little bit because it's glaring sun in this early morning at this time of year. So I went and looked. Not that I don't have it ingrained in my brain anyway. And this picture that I'm looking at is very, very, very close in shape to Crest in the Stone, Mount Challenger here in Crestone, where the sacred awn is and the whole thing. Now, it could not be it. Maybe it's not. Mountains, you know, can resemble one another, and it's not perfect drawing of it. And of course, I never even heard of Crestone in 1973, or the San Luis Valley or any of that. But it very, very well could be the mountain. So that's all I have to say about that. So we're looking at the mountain picture, and there's 1, 2, 3 little squares indicating something. I guess maybe portals to get into the mountain. I don't know. And then it says base again. It's the same date, and it has, this is inside it, I guess. The first layer has a something chamber. Oh, I can't read the word. It's, my handwriting is, you know, bad. And there's 2 little things out from the side. And anyway, that's the first layer, like a circle with tunnels leading into it. And then this upper left tunnel to left, still the first layer. Screen of color. This is the circle. Now, and in the circle, I have written around it, screen of color projection viewing. And then inside, it's color projector room. So I don't know what that is about. Oh, it says, oh, same thing, upper left. So then we go to lower right tunnel to left. And then this is the auxiliary control room. Again, in a circle. And then we have in a hexagon sort of shape, the second layer, and this is central control room. And then there's sort of a T-square thing, and it doesn't even say what that is. And oh my goodness, just all kinds of pictures. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Circles and squares and programmer circuits. Really not, you know, thinking about it, maybe I should have made this all visual, but you know, if I held it up to the camera, you wouldn't be able to see it properly anyway. It's all sketchy and old paper and stuff. Yeah. Just running through it really quick. But I don't see it. Oh, here's something to read. Sheldon Baker, a computer report for Sheldon Baker. I don't know. I'm not going to read it because that's a real person and I don't want to share his information. I don't even remember it. Okay, here's a diagram. It's called a stellar retractor. It's got a microbiotic unit, cell unit. It's got a little like elongated box. It's the plasma base and little wavy lines going out each side. It says energy modulator. Well, it's the protein reactor. It's some of the workings of how these things work with the plasma base and everything. So that's it. I'm exhausted. So that's really all there is. And well, I do have, actually, I was able to scan. I found some things, but I'm going to put that as a written piece because I can show the pictures. So I'll put that up somewhere. And I'll leave this for now because it's really on another topic. As I go through these files, I might be sharing some more things like this, but this was the big one. And I really wanted to get this down, and I could not possibly, you know, transcribe it all, and the papers were too flimsy and whatever to scan them. So here it is for posterity. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you got some interesting feelings from it all.